Hello everyone, my name is Alex, and in the last video we saw how to create a to-do task management API specification using OAS from CurieTech. So just a reminder of what we did, we started with a very simple command just to tell it to create the app for us. Then it made us some questions, we answered those questions, it created the first version, then we did some back and forth. So first we said, make sure you're using RESTful best practices. Then we gave it a little bit of feedback, like task create and task update are redundant, and also to change the status to be completed and make it a Boolean. So it changed all of that. And finally, we said the example values shouldn't have codes because it'll cause issues with the preview in API console. This is not a CurieTech issue, it's an API console in MuleSoft issue. And that was pretty much it. It took us like 10 minutes to do, and we put it in Design Center and we published it to Exchange. So this is what we have so far. Now, the second step is to actually implement that API specification using, you guessed it, Anypoint Code Builder. Because in my last series of MuleSoft from Start, I was using Studio, but that is in the past. So now we're gonna be using ACV. So how do you install ACV? First, you have to install Visual Studio Code. Then you have to install Git in your local, because I am using the desktop version, not the cloud version. And then you just have to install the Anypoint extension pack from here, from the extensions part. That's pretty much it. Once you install it, you will be able to see this MuleSoft beautiful logo here. And that is Anypoint Code Builders, at least like the home page. So, because we're going to be connecting to Exchange, we need to log in to Anypoint platform. So click on this button, click allow, open. This will come here to try to sign in. Once you press on sign in, you can press on open Visual Studio Code. And now you can see that you are logged in right there. Perfect. Now we can get started. So let's click on implement an API. So pretty much we have like 3 different steps that we can do, or like quick actions that we can do from ACV. You can start designing an API, which is what we essentially did with this in Design Center. So instead of doing it in Design Center in the cloud, you can also do it in ACV. It's the same thing, just depends if you prefer an IDE or the web version. Then if you want to implement an API from an API specification that can be either RAML, OAS, or async API, then you would use this option right here. Or if you simply want to get started with a Mule application from scratch, you can just develop an integration. It doesn't require you to have an API specification. So for our case, let's click on implement an API. Since our API spec is called To Do Task Management API, we can call this project To Do Task Management Impl. Impl means implementation. Now here, because we are already signed in, we can already connect to our Exchange. So if we look for it, we will be able to see organization process created by Alex Martinez. So click on Add Asset. Now select the Mule runtime. I'm going to select the latest one and the Java version 17 Create Project. Now, after a few seconds, the project is ready for you to start using. The next thing I'm going to do, because you can use CurieTech with GitHub, I'm going to go ahead and initialize and publish my repo to my GitHub account, which I am already signed in. You can take a look at your accounts right here. If you click on accounts here, you can see that I have my GitHub and my Anypoint platform account. So if you don't have your GitHub, you can go ahead and add it from there. Or probably when you click on publish, it will ask you to log in. So first, let's initialize this repo. Here we have the graph, but I don't have any commits yet, so that's totally fine. And here's everything that was created. A git ignore, a mule artifact.json, a pom.xml. I don't want to have the VS Code folder, so I'm gonna go ahead into my git ignore, and I'm just gonna add my .vscode/folder, save this, and when I go back here, I don't have my other files. Then I have my main mule file or flow, whatever you want to see it as, and we have the source main resources for log4j and the test for log4j. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that we want to add. So we can just add it and say first commit So let's go ahead and commit it. And now let's click on Publish Branch. And here it's going to ask us where to put it. I'm going to go ahead and create the public repo so I can also use it from Curie. Or even if you have a private repo, you can use it from Curie because it's using your credentials. I'm going to show you how to do it from CurieTech. All right, so if I go to check my repos, I already have here my to-do task management implementation. So yay, everything is there. Now let's go back to Curie and select these settings right here and select repos. So right now I have my GitHub, but let's go ahead and click on connect via auth. I have a lot of things, but no, just my profile. And now we're here. I prefer to select only specific repos, so I don't need this anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and select my to-do task management implementation, save. And here we go. Now it's gonna ask me for a branch, which is main. And there we go. So now if I go here to indexes, I can see that I have my to-do task management implementation. I can also select some settings like I am using Java 17 and I am using Maven 3.9. I'm not going to use a settings XML for now. It's just a very simple example. So here we go. Now I can go back to new conversation and I can select Code Enhancer. With repo, I'm going to select my repo in main in the description of the task. Implement the whole API with the CRUD operations based on the API specification. For better results, I would really advise you to do each endpoint one by one instead of doing what I did and asking it to implement the whole thing at once. Because I did this, I introduced some bugs that could have been avoided by letting the code enhancer focus on smaller tasks at a time. So don't be me, do one small task at a time instead of doing a whole implementation at once. So I went ahead and clicked here on view code, so it will take me to API Designer or Design Center. I went ahead and copy and pasted the whole RAML or like OAS, so it would know exactly what it is. Then the flows have already been scaffolded into the main XML file. Don't change these. Just add flow references from the main file's flows to the subflows with the actual logic. That said, create a different XML file for each of the 5 subflows. 1 to get all tasks, 2 to create a new task, 3 to get a task by ID, 4 to update a task by ID, and 5 to delete a task by ID. The data is saved in a MySQL database with the following details. I went ahead and created this in my local. So I have this MySQL container. I will post these instructions in the repo, but pretty much I created this Docker Compose and then I went ahead and run this. So I have all of the information and I am also using this extension so I can see how my tables look like. This is the create table that I used. And I can also like do queries or something, but yeah. So these are my details, the host, port, database, user, password, and my MySQL table is set up like this. So I added this command just in case. Let me add this. When you create a task, the ID in the DB will be automatically incremented for a new record. As you can see from here, we have the auto increment. But note that the ID in the DB is a number, so ID int. And our API spec is a string. So if we go here, we can see ID string. So you have to make sure to transform this data in the code. Make sure to follow best practices and secure the needed properties. And then I just went ahead and pasted my best practices that I had created for Cursor, so I just copied and pasted this whole thing. All right, I may need my settings.xml because I am running this from Exchange and Curie does run the whole project before it gives you an answer. So I will go ahead and update the settings.xml just in case. So it should look something like this. We have the server, in this case, it's amartinez47. From here, I just have to add the password here. In the ID, in my case, is Anypoint Exchange B3 or B2? Oh, V2, I have the V2. So I'm just gonna go ahead and change that. So I'm gonna add my password here and add this file to there. CurieTech is completely safe. You can put your credentials, they won't use them. All right, so upload settings.xml, and I put it here in downloads. Perfect, just in case it needs my credentials. I don't have any VM args for now, and that's it. Let's go ahead and run it. All right, so I had recorded this whole thing, but for some reason my computer crashed. So sorry about that, but it took around 20 minutes to generate the diff. So it will look something like this, where you can see the different files. I cannot zoom, I cannot scroll down a lot. So if I zoom out, you can kind of see how the diff looks like. But yeah, so once you receive this diff, it will ask you if it's okay or if you need to change something. I just went ahead and approved it. So that's why you see here diff reviewed by Alex and then task completed. So if you click on this, it will open the PR that it created for you. So here it has all of the details in the files that it changed. So this is the branch that it created. So what I was saying is that it's just easier for me to get it on my local so I can take a look at the actual code. So that's what I was doing. I went ahead and checked out all of the main flows, which were okay. I will go through them again. But here I'm taking a look at my globals. So I was just creating a few properties like these ones, just because just occurred to me that I wanted to have all of these externalized, but it's totally okay if you don't want to do that. So I was just externalizing those properties manually, but it created all of these on its own, which is really, really cool. So it has, if I come by this, I can see the values. So the host, the port, the MySQL stuff, user password, and database name. So this is really cool because it got everything right. I am going to have to change the host for the dev, but for the local properties, this is great. So awesome. Those are my local properties, my global configs, which are great. And let me just go back to this now. So I have, wait, let me reopen it because I changed the global configuration. So that's why it was red. There we go. So nothing changed on the main and the console. They're pretty much the same. The only thing that we can see is the flows now have the flow references. So if I start from the get all tasks, we can see that we have the flow ref to get all tasks. And same for the post, we just have the flow ref to create task flow. But for the others, like the delete, it is creating a transform message. I think this was created already. It just added the flow ref to it. So this was created by MuleSoft to get the task ID and to save it in a variable called task ID. That would happen to all of the ones that have task ID in the path as a URI parameter. And that was created by MuleSoft, but Curie added all the flow references exactly as I asked it to do. So that was that. And then we can take a look at all of the flows one by one. So we can start by the get all tasks. The other thing that you also missed was that if you take any of the Mule configuration files, you can just right click on it and click on project properties. So you can take a look at, let me close this for a moment, at the connector versions, and you can see which versions are compatible with the Java version that you have or with the Mule runtime version that you have. I also noticed that Curie added a Java module and a Spring module. I'm not yet sure why, but we're gonna figure out now. Okay, so it correctly added a soft flow just as I asked. It has here the logger, the transform. So it's pretty much preparing a query to know what to ask for the database. And then we have this SQL query, select ID, title, description, due date, completed from tasks, where clause. Then it has a transform message to move everything to a JSON, and it is taking the ID and putting it as string. So that's good. Everything else is just mapped in the logger. All right, so we're gonna have to run that to verify, but that was pretty much that. I did ask to have just one flow per file, so that's why it did like this. If not, you can add your own stuff. If you go here and select workspace, you can put your coding guidelines right here in a PDF format. So if you want to have one flow by file, or if you want to have several, or the naming conventions that you want for your flows or for your files, you can do all that there. All right, so now let's take a look at the create task. So we have the logger start, then we have a transform that is also creating the task input, and then it's putting it into the database, generating the ID. Oh, doing the select to get the ID. Okay. And then transforming everything for a JSON. Okay. So in theory, everything looks good. Of course, we will have to run it to verify. So those are the first two. I am not sure where it's using the Java and Spring dependencies though. But I do see an error here in the get all tasks. So we'll see if we can run it. We should be able to run it, but we'll see. Let's try. Okay, so I made a few changes and it was able to almost run, but there is an issue with the data weave that it created here because it has like if else, if else, if else, and that's not how data weave works. So instead of me going to modify that directly, I'm gonna ask Curie to do that because this would take a few brain cells to actually fix. I'm not gonna do that, but I'm gonna show you some of the changes that I did. I added the search test resources embedded because sometimes it creates a lot of things for you on that. I don't know why this is changing. The POM, I did modify a few things to just like put here is the Mule Maven plugin. I am not sure why it added this configuration. I may need it, but for now I just removed it because I'm not sure if I need it or not. If I do need it, I'm gonna regret it, but we'll see. And then I just went ahead and removed the MySQL, Java and Spring because the MySQL was sending me some issues, so I'm not sure if I need it, but I do have the DB connector, so probably that's good enough. We'll see. Then the changes I showed you from global, I just moved the listener config and the API kit config from the main flow to the global because Curie forgot to do it. Here's what I removed. Pretty straightforward. And I just added the properties that I decided that I needed because I didn't know I needed that. So I didn't ask Curie about it. So a few changes. Commit. Would you like to stage all of your changes? Oh, I forgot to stage them, but yeah. And sync. Okay, so this is gonna send them, again, I'm in the Curie dev branch, so that is where it's gonna send them. So if we take a look here, maybe let me refresh. And yeah, now we can see the changes that I sent. Or you know what, you can also add local repos, so let's do that. To do task management impl, let's select that one, edit files. And if we take a look at the local sync, now we have the local to do task management impl. So we can also do that. Let's go ahead and select Java, Maven, and upload the settings. Perfect. Now let's use the local. So let's go ahead and new conversation code enhancer with repo. And now I'm gonna select the local one with the active branch. Yeah, that's good. Because I already have the PR here, so that's fine. All right, so I added, take a look at the get all task flow. The prepare query transfer message has an error. Please fix it and make sure the rest of the flow is correctly set up to get a list of all the tasks from the database. We already have our settings, so let's submit that. And after 1 minute and a half, this is what we received. So it pretty much updated the data with code and nothing else. So we can take a look at that. But because we're now using a local, we can only download the generated code or the diff patch. It's a pretty straightforward change. So I can just go ahead and take all of it. I'm just gonna take it from the output and everything. And that's why we first did it with GitHub, because that was just easier, that it created a PR for us. So perfect, we got it here, and everything up until there looks fine. It's just here it says expecting type array but got object. So we'll take a look at that to see if it will cause any issues, and we can go ahead and run. And guess what? It was deployed successfully. Yay! So I think this is pretty much like we did a lot for this video. We got it to run. So I'm gonna leave it here for this video, but in the next video, we're gonna go ahead and test it out to see if it actually works, and we can start actually troubleshooting the functionality of it. But like, I know a lot of you are gonna say like it took a lot of time, but see it this way, like if I am not familiar with setting up a database in MuleSoft and I just have the information from my database, imagine that I have to go ahead and watch tutorials or read tutorials to figure out by myself how to actually use the database connector. Instead of doing all of that, it only took like around 20 minutes from start to tell Curate to generate some functioning code for me. And as you saw, I didn't even have to troubleshoot the data with code. It also did it by itself after I told it about it. And as long as you have like the best practices really documented in your workspace or in another set of instructions, it is going to be able to do all of that for you. I think the problem was that we gave it too many instructions at once, and that's why like it had to generate something that was just pretty much working. But this is really cool. Again, imagine that I don't know anything about creating a database connector and I just have the information from the database. This is really cool. Instead of spending like the whole day learning about it with trial and error, this gave me a working first POC in 20 minutes. Or less. So, all right, I will see you in the next video where we are going to run and troubleshoot this working Mule project. See you there. Bye.